Yeah, where it gets weirder, though, is when that molestation wagon on spider legs comes up, it gropes Ben, and then it checks his ass out. I was like, woo, woo. And then the camera shutter eyeball thing, it's looking at his dick and freaking the fuck out. And then it just starts sucking on him. There is something really weird going on here.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down to Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we love when growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Gene Whack Lyons.
Smooth move, X-Lax.
And each week, we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. Each week, the audience selects from 6 movie choices that we then break out our race car VHS tape rewinders and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes. At the end of the podcast, the three of us will provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and Watchmen. Coming back, guys, on Shat on TV, just announced Westworld Season 3. I guess at the time of recording, it was just announced. March 15th, 2020.
Yep, it's only going to be 8 episodes this season.
Great.
Nice round number.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to that. You can find all the past emails and past episodes at shatontv.com. That being said, Big D, it's 2020. We're heading into what might be the final year of human existence. But to keep people entertained, we're still doing commissions. People are supporting the podcast.
Yeah, I think we got to give people something to look forward to each week. So this week, we got a commission from one of our listeners, James B., and he wanted us to do a movie from 1985 that I'm a little scared, or was a little scared going into, because it's a beloved space movie, much like E.T., and he said, I remember this movie. It really had an impact on me. I would love for you guys to do the 1985 classic, Explorers.
Well, anytime someone sends in their hard-earned cash to shatthemovies.com, which, by the way, you can go to our website and find out how you can do it as well, we always ask to send just a letter of expression showing why you would send in your money to 3 dudes talking about children's movies from the 1980s. And James was no different. Gene, you always read the letters, and you've got James's right in front of you.
Right, Raj. James wrote in and said, I just wanted to take time out to say how great you all are. I've been listening since day one and heard many podcasts multiple times. I get very excited each week to hear your podcast and could not wait to hear E.T. You've got me through some tough times at work. I'm fortunate that I can listen to you guys whilst I work. And if it's a film I love, I always then make a point of listening again later at home to fully enjoy. Keep up the amazingly hard work I know you all put in. I'd like to make a donation and ask you to review a movie for me. I'm not sure how much is the normal cost for this, so I'm paying £150 sterling in the hope that this is enough and would obviously say a big thank you. I'd like to pay more, but the wife would kill me, and I'm not working much at the moment as I've been off for a few months with a bad hip injury. I'd, however, like to make a small recurring payment to help if this is possible. Oh, it's possible, James.
Keep your money. No. I feel bad. He's got a hip injury.
Yeah, but he lives in a socialist nation, so it's fine.
Oh, that's true. That he doesn't have to worry about healthcare.
Yeah. Please let me know how I do this. Well, James, you call Big D and you...
No, you just go to shatthemovies.com/PayPal and you can set up a small reoccurring donation.
Oh, jeez.
$1, $2 makes a difference.
We call it a little Carmelita. Anyway, James says the film I'd like you to cover is The Explorers, 1985, with Ethan Hawke and the great River Phoenix. This film brings back so many memories. It was my 12th birthday, so this had been out for about 4 years by then. I never really went to the cinema much as a young child, and my parents would hire films from the local video store. For my birthday, I was having a sleepover with about 8 other boys. What was my mom thinking? 9 12-year-olds all in the same room. There was noise. Just quickly, I remember my dad coming downstairs at 6:30 in the morning as we all thought it was a good idea to go out and kick a football against my parents' bedroom wall. Anyway, back to the sleepover. I hired 3 films. House, which was a 1985 semi-horror. Seen it, James. It terrified me as a child. The Explorers, and wait for it, the turd that was Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Now I have to say, on first watch, okay, but that was on 2 hours of sleep. Watching it again, I mean, come on, 1978 Superman looked so much better. Thank you all again for your podcast, and many more to come. Kindest regards, James B.
Anytime a title has the word like or the phrase "quest for peace," you know it's going to be shitty.
Were there other quests for peace?
No, because Superman 4 ruined it.
Rambo, First Blood, Part 3, The Quest for Peace.
Right?
James, I do hope you feel a lot better, man. Hip injuries are the shittiest. Like, this is one of the things that I fear as I hurtle toward 40, is like those things that you never could really injure when you were younger, right? Like, you didn't have back injuries in your 20s. I didn't have hip injuries in my 30s. It's coming. I know it's coming.
The Dolphins are about to waste their first round draft pick on a man who has a hip injury.
How old is he?
He's like, I don't know, 21.
Yeah, but he had like a 400-pound lineman land on him. That happens. It's not like he blew it out doing the dishes.
I guess there's no more 400-pound linemen in the NFL. Good thing. All right. Well, Explorers is a 1985 American science fiction fantasy film starring Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix in their film debuts, plus Jason Presson, as teenage boys who build a spacecraft to explore outer space. The special effects were produced by Industrial Light and Magic with makeup effects by Rob Botton. It was rushed into production, and so the film was never properly finished. Director Joe Dante revealed that the studio demanded that he stop editing and rush for a July release, where it was overshadowed by the Live Aid concert.
I remember that.
Which was, it was held one day after the film's release. And along with stiff competition from Back to the Future, which opened 9 days prior, it was a box office flop upon its release. However, it has since attracted a cult following with its VHS release.
You know, a lot of people complain about the age of the internet. We're like, oh, I wish I could go back to the 80s, man. Shit was so good in the 80s. The 80s had such limited entertainment that if you were interested in a movie but Live Aid happened, everyone's like, what's that? A concert? Let's all watch it. Everyone together now.
What? We're all going outside and holding hands? Yeah, I'm in.
Okay.
Before we dive into the podcast and give you our review of the movie, we always ask the question, where were you? What are your memories of Explorers? We'll start with you, Big D.
So I was 12 the summer that this came out, and I was the kid who would always take stuff apart. I was trying to improve it. I was trying to figure out how it worked. Most of it,
just electronics, VCRs,
anything,
marriages,
small animals, small woodland creatures.
No, nothing living, but anything electronic or mechanical, I would always try to take it apart. Most of the time I couldn't get it back together, but failing never stopped me. I mean, I still build to today. I'm out in the garage making it, whether it's a wood project or something electronics. But there was always time for me to head down to my local Radio Shack and just shoplift whatever parts I needed. Great memories, and all these skills have stuck with me to today.
I just imagine like a young Big D who at age 8 was still 6 feet tall, and he walks in and he's like, "Mommy, help me put Snuffles back together. Why is Snuffles not alive? Why is it Snuffles breathing? I don't know how to put it back together."
I'm just trying to imagine someone Big D size shoplifting as a child. Like he's taller than every clerk.
Oh, no. You see, that's the trick. The trick was not to look sneaky. The more obvious you were and doing it right in front of them, the people were like, this guy can't be stealing. He just put it in his pocket right in front of me.
Yeah, the fucking 6-foot ginger walking by. Nobody noticed him.
That's why they had to start putting that scale next to doors at gas stations. Because
little height
Big
chart.
D was constantly shoplifting.
Mm-hmm. How tall was he? I don't know. Infinity?
How about you, Gene? Have you ever seen Explorers?
Raja, this was a big part of my childhood. So, I just found out that Phoenix is once again the hottest housing market in America right now. But before it became this sprawling mecca for the Orange County overflow, and East Coasters that were heading out for sunny skies. Arizona was it was a pretty quiet place, and Phoenix was a very quiet community. There wasn't much to do. And we had this quaint UHF station called Channel 45, and everything was on Channel 45. Suns basketball was on Channel 45. Really bad, local children's programming was on Channel 45, and movies, but they would play like the same movie over and over again. So I swear every Saturday or Sunday, Explorers would be on. And I would watch it like in between trips to the pool, or when my mom was making me a sandwich, or I was taking a nap on the sofa, or I was doing homework. So this felt like a daily part of my childhood. And I still get a lot of comfort and nostalgia from the movie. So it holds a very special place in my heart. And I still have a lot of love for Explorers.
Yeah. Well, I know this is going to be shocking to our listeners and to you guys as well, but I didn't have many friends growing up, nor did I have any siblings. And summers were especially hard because I'd be with my dad in another city or a state. So while kids were making lifelong memories with friends building spaceships, I'd miss out on that. So I did a lot of things by myself. And the more that I think about it, maybe my mom picked up on this, which is why she'd come home with a couple of movies she rented at the local, movie stop in Jacksonville, Florida. And they'd be movies about other kids with friends, hoping I'd pick up on and understand these social norms in the event that one day, eventually, I would make an acquaintance. Still waiting, Mom. Still waiting.
Were you watching this movie just envious of Wolfgang? Like, I wish people would pick on me. Someone look at me, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get into it. With that being said, Big D, play the trailer.
Hey, watch what you're doing. Shh, pass me the Phillips head. Don't like that. You need the ratchet. Here. I can't do anything with your hand in the way. It's stuck. Give me that thing. Here. Ouch! Hey, watch it. Shh. Be quiet, man. If you bang like that, your mom's gonna wonder what we're doing. If this thing works, everyone's gonna wonder what we're doing. There. I think that's it. Yeah. Switch on the computer. Ready? Here goes.
Ben Crandall is a young teenage boy living in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., who experiences vivid dreams about flying through clouds and over a vast city-like circuit board, usually after falling asleep watching old sci-fi films. Every night, upon waking from his dream, he draws the circuit board, and Ben shows these sketches to his friend, child prodigy Wolfgang Muller. At school, Ben develops a crush on Laurie Swinson, but he isn't sure whether it's mutual, and both boys meet punkish but likable Darren Woods, with whom they share their circuit board concepts.
So a lot of the movies we do with children in the cast we complain about, they hit an absolute home run. 2 of the 3 kids are dynamite. I think they're all decent performances. But in River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke, you have a combined 5 Oscars and 2 Golden Globes nominations between them. If River hadn't died so young, he would have gotten a bunch more. But the fact that this is their movie debut in Explorers, it's amazing. I think the 3 kids, they give strong performances. And even though they're playing that typical 80s archetype, you got Ben, who's kind of the horny little kid in love with the pretty girl. Wolfgang's the nerd. Darren's the loner. I think they do a good job to make them likable, even though those characters typically aren't.
I can't help but think this movie would have been stronger as a duo, though. I get Ben and I get Wolfgang, and I thought Darren was going to have some role to play in all this, like a secret hero or something like that. And he just kind of hangs around. He doesn't really bring anything to the movie. I think it'd have been better without him.
Yeah, but you need trios, right? You need someone who's going to come in and kick people while they're down and run away and drop their Walkman behind them. You need someone who will wear plaid shirts and is a little dark, a little gothic, maybe rides mopeds. It's the whole reason we brought you onto the podcast.
Yeah, maybe I'm as pointless as a Darren, though. I don't know when I'm going to have my shining moment.
No, it's clear I'm the pointless one on the podcast.
But, Big D bringing up the casting was fantastic. I thought also, for a 1985 movie, we've seen a lot of stuff like The Last Starfighter and parts of Tron where we're just ugh, this looks terrible. But this movie came out a year after The Last Starfighter, And it had a bigger budget, and it shows. Like, you can tell that Industrial Light and Magic did a pretty amazing job for 1985. I don't know if you guys watched it the way I watch it, but I try to watch everything, in my living room with the surround sound on and blasting. And the sound was great. I watched with that surround sound on. I felt like part of the movie when these big like 80s retrowave graphics were coming by. You could hear them whoosh right by you, and the soundtrack was bumping. I thought it was pretty good and a perfect fit. They weren't trying to do too much here. And when that Explorer sphere first pops up, that blue bubble, I was like, man, it looks like pretty good. Again, is it 2020 standard? No, but for 85 compared to some other shit that was going on special effect wise, I was impressed.
Well, do you guys dream? Like, I don't know. Do you guys have any type of recollection when you wake up in the morning of maybe experiences you had while you were sleeping?
It's kind of sad to say, but like, I don't feel like I dream that much anymore, which freaks me out a little bit. Like, I don't know if it's my soul dying, but I used to dream a lot as a kid. Like, I had a dream journal. I was very into it. And I had very vivid and terrifying dreams. Journal. Like, I had night terrors that would like, those like repeat dreams. And now, now it's just, I sleep and then I wake. I don't think I sleep enough to dream is the problem.
Yeah. So you never get like good sleep. You never go into like REM.
Right.
I tend not to have dreams anymore. Mine are more like nightmares. And I think maybe this is, this is kind of something that deals with me. Most of my dreams involve I'm losing something. Like, I'll spend hours searching for Emma. I'll search for my keys. I'll search for my car. I don't know what the fuck that says about me, but it's not relaxing.
But did these dreams start when Radio Shack went away?
Yeah, just
where are my parts?
I can't steal anymore. I need my circuit boards and my plugs.
As I imagine like little shoplifting Big D, I think we saw him in this movie. Did you guys notice that big bully in the leather jacket?
Yeah,
he was a fucking dead ringer. That buzz cut. He was a dead ringer for Big D. But I just want to know with these kids, like, we see bullies in 80s movies all the time. But what the fuck is wrong with these? Like, these are particularly weird kids. They're tearing a boy's pants off. Like, like, they're just sitting on him in mount in front of an entire crowd, just sitting there. And by the way, guys, if you're ever mounted like Ben was, it's really easy to get out of that. It's like textbook. If somebody's got your wrists and they're sitting on you, easy peasy. So all you got to do, it's called the buck, trap, and roll. This is Gene Lyons Krav Maga hour. They've got you by the wrists. So you just buck your hips upward and you've already got their arms because they've got your wrists. They will either go over your head or you can roll to the side and you've got their arm trapped. If you can't get them that way, put a knee up their ass. It'll get them going.
It's the same maneuver we Catholics do when we're having unprotected sex, but don't want to climax inside of, a female.
Catholics let the woman get on top? I thought that was like against the rules. Wait, so you guys get to have saints, you get to have wine and wafers, and you can fucking have cowgirl sex?
Of course.
Oh, man.
But man, these guys, they don't look like they should be bullies. They look like misfits themselves. And that fat kid in the leather coat, I saw myself in that, so I'm gonna own that one. But when you got into a fight in like grade school or high school, the worst part was when everybody would circle up and chant like, "Yeah, do it," because you're like, man, I'm not going to get out of here. And it made me think of like 2020, how bullying is today. It's a big topic still. I think real world bullying, I think it's much better. I think it teaches kids a good lesson. You got to stand up for yourself. You have to address it head on, and you can ultimately overcome it. Online bullying, it's much harder because it's anonymous, and it's definitely more vicious. Social media is so big, you can have like 1,000 people piling on you. Whereas if it was in 1985, you just had to worry about one or two bullies and avoiding them. With social media, it can seem hopeless. I see why kids hang themselves because there's no way to actually confront the bully.
I agree. UFC fan 78. I want to fight this. I don't want to fight him. I want to be part of the circle that surrounds him while we watch Gene kick his ass.
I will fight you, UFC fan.
Fuck yeah.
UFC fan 78. If you don't think that the King Bee knows where you live,
he does.
Knows your home address, you are sorely mistaken, UFC fan 78.
The King Bee was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 with like his little gang. He had a posse. He was putting in like 16-hour days on this game. And one time some guy fucked with them. And you can, in Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the really cool things about it is that there's local area chat, basically. So if you're near somebody in the game, they can hear you if you're talking.
Yeah.
And an altercation happened between the King Bee and this guy. And the King Bee found out who the guy was online, found pictures of his sister, and started sending them to him and making threats. So he's insane, and he's got a lot of time on his hands. So don't fuck with us, UFC fan.
Stop living 1-star reviews on our Watchmen podcast, UFC 78.
You're going to wish we were fucking snowflake social justice warriors when he gets his hands on you.
But like, I get it. If you don't like us, leave a 1-star. I don't care. Fucking do it. But this dude leaves a 1-star, then comes back a week later to leave another one.
And it's the same review. It's not even, he doesn't find something whimsical or funny or a different angle. It's just cut and paste.
What he doesn't understand, though, is that iTunes actually adds those up. So it actually gave us 2 stars now. So
yeah,
keep coming, baby.
There you go.
Give us all 5.
Speaking of whimsical, the most distracting part of Explorers was not the overhyped alien costume design or the great special effects from ILM. It's the whimsical German family that Wolfgang lives with. Like, I always wanted, like you talk about, would I picture myself Wolfgang? I always wanted a cool name like Wolfgang. In fact, if you put another 20 pounds on River Phoenix at that age, that was me carrying my books around with my serial killer glasses on. But, again, forget the trash ship and the singing aliens. The most unbelievable part is when you go to his house and finally you get some German accents, but there's kids, there's chaos. One kid has some sort of mask on and is like just shoveling in cereal into his mouth. The
Danish
dad's
pastries.
Walking around. Yeah.
Greek pastries.
No,
Greek pastries.
They're Greek. They're baklava.
Baklava. Opa.
But like in no German household would there be this much chaos. In a real German household, there would be order.
There would be.
You would have your studies, and you would know exactly where you left the bug zapper.
Exactly. But I love the fact that he says, I'm just going to say I was doing some studying for Werner von Braun, the V2 scientist who defected after World War II.
Yeah. Like most Nazi scientists that built our space program. Yeah. That same Werner von Braun.
Yeah. It's nice to know they have an affinity for the old country.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, Wolfgang builds an actual microchip based on Ben's drawings because he's German. And the chip enables the generation of electromagnetic bubbles, which surrounds a predetermined area, as the boys discover the bubble is capable of moving at near limitless distances and speeds without the usual ill effects from inertia. They construct a rudimentary spacecraft out of an abandoned Tilt-A-Whirl car, and they name their ship the Thunder Road after Bruce Springsteen's song of the same title. Their experiments with the Thunder Road draw attention from the United States government, which sends agents to scout the area for UFOs.
So 1985 was obviously a simpler time. These children have made a historic breakthrough. They've created like an energy field generator. And what's their first thought? Wow, what could we do with this? Let's have some fun. Kids today, their first thought would be like, holy shit, let's fucking sell this to Google. I'm getting Elon Musk on Twitter and we're going to sell this for $1 billion.
Fuck that. In the 80s, the first things kids would do is like, how do we use this technology to get women?
Yeah.
You talk about Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. If you look at a picture of Elon Musk from the late 90s after he invented PayPal to now, shockingly two different people. He's like all nerdy and pasty and losing his hair. Now Elon Musk is like all cool, smoking joints and blunts with Joe Rogan. And Jeff Bezos was the nerdiest of all nerds. And now he's like all ripped and jacked and, making $5 billion every 3 minutes with Amazon. Again, you cannot explain those transformations unless you truly understand the 80s mentality, which is what you're taught in the Explorers, is that, hey, if you invent something, you'll get the girls, which is why I respect Woz from Apple for keeping it real. He didn't change. He just got tons of money, but didn't change his appearance or his nerdiness at all.
I think one of the things that makes these 80s like computer movies special, though, kind of like Weird Science. So it's just like, we just feed these photos in and it's going to make a woman. Ta-da! It's like this love of science. Like they're obsessed with like the cool thing was to make something with your computer, whatever you could, do with it. Now, granted, people didn't really know what computers could do. And it's very clear in this movie that the computer science makes absolutely no sense here. So sure, you built a circuit board out of your dream, but that somehow created its own programming language and software. It's so confusing.
Yeah, but anything was possible. People didn't know what a home computer would do. They were in so few homes. People probably watched this movie and was like, oh, fuck, it's definitely going to do it. I mean, science in the 50s, you either had a magnifying glass or you had a chemistry set. There was nothing as exciting as the 80s for just pure technical opportunity.
At the very basic level, though, you would have to understand that
Yes.
the computer would need to be plugged in. There's a scene in this movie where they go to a field carrying their computer. There's no electrical outlet around, and yet it works.
Oh no, they solve for that. First of all, by the way, the computer that they use in this, I think they referred to it as like a 128K. I think it's supposed to be like an Apple IIe or something like that. It's not. It's actually, at the time, get this, in 85, that computer cost $30,000. $30,000. But anyway, Raj, to answer your question, there is a scene, it's very tiny in there, where Wolfgang pops open the computer, and under the monitor, there's like a 9-volt battery that's running the whole thing. Yeah. Now, listen, this is possible if this circuit board is like so efficient that it can do all that on a 9-volt battery. But honestly, powering the monitor would take more than that.
Yeah.
No, but these fucking kids are reckless. First, they destroy the entire neighborhood. They're shooting the ball around. People are screaming. You hear car crashes. And they destroy the basement. They shoot a hole through the cinder block wall. At this point, wouldn't you stop and say, Wolfgang doesn't know where the fuck he's aiming this thing. It's going to go right through my chest or kill the cat. They don't know that there's oxygen in the bubble or the fact that there wasn't. They could have killed Wolfgang. They shoot him down into the earth. He pops out, and they're all like, yeah, let's do it again. Kids just have no fucking fear.
Yeah, but like, again, you would think that at the very basic, they would just turn off the computer or they would unplug it, but that doesn't happen. They just let this happen. But like, kids are dumb. I don't know. Like, have you ever gotten into a situation where you were just like, I'm going to live forever and I'm just going to do this?
Yeah. I put a zip line in my yard. I was probably like 10 years old. It was the A-team. I ran it between these two giant trees and we made a pulley system. Of course, after like the fourth time, my friend fell 30 feet onto his back, and my parents were like, oh, just dust it off. Just keep going. Today, I'd be like, lawsuit, no way. But at the time, you're right. Kids just think they're going to live forever.
I grew up in a household of women. So my mom and my sister raised me. And my mom, one day, she goes to work. She leaves me alone with my sister. My sister's like, hey, why don't you go get that sewing kit? And let's just sew some fabric, okay? And I was like, yeah. I was like, that seems like a good thing. So we're sitting there, we're sewing some fabric. She goes to talk to her friend on the phone. This is pre-cell phones, obviously. And in the sewing kit, I found elastic. And I was like, holy shit, it's like a bungee cord. So I wrapped the elastic around my waist, tied it to the railing of the second floor, and jumped because I thought it's a bungee. And I fucking just hit the ground like flat on my back. Ugh. Never really told my mom and my sister about it, but I think this is why I'm terrified to have children, because they're fucking stupid.
And why you're terrified of Roger wearing elastic-waisted pants.
I'm actually wearing elastic-waisted pants that Roger gave me right now, and got to tell you,
yeah,
super comfortable. But, you know, before anyone accuses us of being too cynical about this and forgetting our childhoods and shitting on children, I did have some emotional waves of nostalgia during this movie. And there's a point when they find the Tilt-A-Whirl car in the junkyard after feeding a dog gum, which, by the way, don't ever do that. It's very dangerous to dogs. And Ben says, it's beautiful. And he's absolutely right. That Tilt-A-Whirl is fucking gorgeous. It's the perfect shape. It's the perfect size for 3 kids. I was obsessed with it as a child. And it doesn't make sense. You're looking at the Thunder Road and you're like, why does it have hatches? Like, what is that all about? It's because they're fucking kids. Like, they're kids and they want it to look cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things they do so well. This looks like kids actually built it. You know, they're not concerned with, is it possibly airtight? Are there seat belts? Are the folding chairs bolted into the floor? It doesn't make any sense. Who cares? Let's slap some lights on it. Let's get some plywood wings and let's paint lightning bolts. Fuck yeah, this is going to work.
I actually thought that was the whole reason that they brought Darren into the group, is because he had they introduced him how he has taken apart his carburetor on his moped, and his father collects junk for a living. And so that was his role as kind of the engineer or mechanic. And they have a little bit about when they're having their building montage, and you see that, and it kind of looks, and I texted Big D about this. I wonder if this was the inspiration for Rick Sanchez's ship in Rick and Morty, because it's kind of that trash cans and the bubbles.
I think it definitely resembles it. I haven't heard that that's actually what the inspiration for it was, but the ship just looks as dumb as it does. It looks like it could fly if you were a 12-year-old kid.
Have you ever, Big D, you're pretty handy in the garage. You have a workbench. I imagine that probably came because of your predilection and your interest in building stuff. Did you ever build anything cool as a kid that wasn't a zip line that made one of your friends drop 30 feet from the air?
No, I just remember we tried to in high school to build a pitching machine with a lawnmower engine on it. And I didn't really realize the science behind it about how hard that would be with pulleys and gearing. So that was the big one I can think of, but it failed miserably.
Gene, have you ever built anything? What's the coolest thing you built with friends?
I mean, one of the great things, and I've talked about it before on the podcast, is about living in the Midwest, is that there was not a lot to do in the winters. And so in Ohio, we would build a lot of mopeds, and you just find parts in barns and new old stock sales where people sell stock that they, have in their warehouses. And so built a lot of mopeds out of other moped parts, and then rode them way too fast and dangerously. The King Bee used to build these amazing potato guns. I don't know if you guys ever did that. And what you do is take a PVC pipe, and then you would put the potato in there, and you had a combustion chamber where you would spray hairspray, basically, or any sort of an aerosol flammable thing. And then you had the ignition button on a grill, and you'd hit that. It would cause an explosion. The potato would shoot out, and they would those things would fly hundreds of yards. It was insane.
Oh, God, you just reminded me of one thing I did create that was probably deadly. We found a sewage pipe and stuck it in the ground and made a homemade mortar. So we would throw M80s in it and load it with golf balls, and it would go whing, and the balls would just disappear into the sky. There was probably some house or car a half mile away. How stupid. But it was fucking awesome.
Like a little blue ball that wrecked the neighborhood?
Yeah, just like that.
Well, Wolfgang discovers a means of producing unlimited sustainable oxygen, and the boys finalize their plan to explore the galaxy in search of alien life. The boys complete liftoff despite interference from the authorities, and shortly after breaking Earth's orbit, something overrides the boys' personal computer controls, and the Thunder Road is tractor beamed aboard a much larger spaceship. The boys venture out to meet their captors, Whack and Neek, two green-skinned aliens whose knowledge of Earth comes almost entirely from junk culture, particularly television reruns.
So if you guys remember in E.T., we had the government agents, and they were kind of scary. You only saw from their waist down for the most part of the movie, and there were a bunch of flashlights, and the music got everything tense, and you're like, oh shit, these guys are scary. They're going to come get E.T. There's trouble. Here, they also introduced this element with these two cops that are in a helicopter. Now, one of the cops is Meshach Taylor, who was Hollywood in Mannequin. I don't know if you guys ever saw Mannequin, but Hollywood had the cool sunglasses. He did the fire hose thing. He was fucking awesome. He was also in Designing Women, and sadly died in 2014. But I love one of the things about these 80s movies that we watch is seeing people in early roles when they were just guy in helicopter, But the other cop from the sheriff's department, he's flying around in a helicopter. It seems like all night and day, which, by the way, a helicopter, most police helicopters, only stay up for about 3 hours without refueling. So you had to refuel multiple times. It's very expensive just flying around looking for the Thunder Road. And when he finally finds it, all he finds inside is a tan jacket at the crash site. And he's like, aha, I know who it is. Dude, I don't know if you guys noticed, but every kid in this fucking movie has a tan jacket. I don't know if in 1985 that was just a thing to wear tan jackets, but Darren's got a tan jacket. Ben's got a tan jacket. Half the bullies have tan jackets. But anyway, he goes and he finds the kids, and you're like, oh shit, he's the big bad. But nope, of course, almost borrowing exactly from E.T., he's had similar dreams too. And he's like, way to go, kid. I'm like, what was the point of this entire police subplot?
He's a fucking cop. How about you just notify them? Say, this is what I'm going to do. Instead, he shows up at this kid's door, He tries to accost him at the hedges, and he's like, what do you do with that spaceship? Come here. He chases them down into the ravine. He's lucky he didn't get shot.
He's the old guy from Gremlins.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like the neighbor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God, I forget. I know he has a name. I forget his name.
It's like Billy Willie or something like that.
Is it?
He's the angry guy in Gremlins who hates Japanese cars.
Yeah, and he comes back in Gremlins too for no apparent reason.
No apparent reason.
They just happen to be in New York when Gremlins attack again.
Dick Miller.
Dick Miller,
Yes.
that's it.
Not Billy Willie. I was close.
There you go. But in the description that you have here that says that they were rushing this to get it out for July, it makes sense now because the first half looks like they'd put some love and care into creating this world. Then we get into space and it somehow quickly turns into low budget. It's unimaginative. Instead of inspiring awe in these kids who say, it'll be the greatest adventure ever. It'll be a great discovery. What the fuck did it turn into? It was like a bad 90s club. There's a lot of industrial design, some duct work. You have tons of smoke, dance platforms. This ship was not only a disappointment to the kids, it was a disappointment to me as a viewer.
I mean, I'd go there.
It's definitely also a remodeled Star Wars ship CR-90 Corvette. Did you notice that? It's just repainted.
I don't know any of the words you just said.
No, I don't know either.
Yeah, it's one of the Rebel Alliance ships. If you go see the Star Wars, that's what it is. Star Wars fans will recognize it.
Remember, everyone, Roger doesn't like Star Wars. Remember that.
I hate it.
I
hate watch it. The Industrial Light and Magic, for all the money that they save by repurposing old Star Wars ships and models, they really put a ton of money into the dumb alien design. Whack looks like if one of the aliens from Mac and Me had sex with Heimlich, the green caterpillar from A Bug's Life. And Zeke looks like the love child of the gremlin from Gremlins 2, like the woman one, had sex with Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. These characters look disgusting. And one of them is just creeping on these kids.
Well, there's a lot of creeping on kids, but Neek, she's inappropriate. And she has this weird fascination with Wolfgang. I know in the end, spoiler alert, she's just a kid. She's a teenager too, but she's obviously older because she has a license to drive the spaceship and she's out there alone.
Hold on. I like in your mind, well, she's old enough to drive the spacecraft. As if there's like space police. They're going to check her license. Make sure she's old enough to be driving her dad's spaceship.
Well, she's old enough to know better, but she lures Wolfgang into this giant seduction room. There's candy, there's a gumball dispenser, there's these romantic lounge chairs that are in like a semicircle. It's creepy. Then she starts using that Marilyn Monroe voice, asking him, do you have a girlfriend? And the whole time she's touching his hand with those little suction cup tentacles. She definitely wanted to mate with him, right? I'm not being twisted here.
Yeah, she definitely wanted to cup him, for sure.
Yeah, where it gets weirder, though, is when that molestation wagon on spider legs comes up together. I was like, wait a minute. I think what I got from that was that both Whack and Neek were like driving it together, each operating one of the suction hoses. And that Frisk bot, it's just like it gropes Ben and then it's like it checks his ass out. I was like, woo, woo. And then it's definitely like the camera shutter eyeball thing. It's looking at his dick and freaking the fuck out. And then it just starts sucking on him. There is something really weird going on here.
Dude, I felt guilty because last night as I was watching this, I put on our Slack chat, is this giant alien pedophile spider really sniffing their balls and grabbing their ass? Those little suckers. And then they spin him around. And what? There's a photo in his pocket? They were just looking for a reason to cup those little young butt cheeks.
And there were like two hands that come out and like position his little prepubescent butthole, getting ready for the, I don't know, whatever aliens do with it.
The space probe.
But like, I didn't remember this part of the movie at all. In fact, I thought the way that I remembered this movie is that they build the Thunder Road and then they try to go into outer space, but it doesn't quite work. But the memories that they've made of this journey is the story, is the exploration. And like, I remember one of the kids had trouble with his parents and like they were going to help him with that. That's what I thought the movie was. I don't remember them meeting aliens at all in this movie. I don't know what movie I watched. But do you guys personally believe in aliens? Do you believe that aliens exist?
Yes, I do believe in aliens. simply by the numerical likelihood that life exists elsewhere in the universe. Are they coming and visiting us? Are they trying to lure children up to their sex dungeon? I don't know. But yeah, I think life has to exist on other planets.
So there's multiple accounts of individuals that have been abducted by aliens and then seduced, right? Well, there's a couple of them that have reoccurring themes where there's like female-like alien, but she's slender. She's about like 6 foot, 6'2".
Into it so far.
And she walks in. The guy can't move at all. And it's always a male. And he's like on a table. She comes in and just basically has sex with him. And the guys always say it's really, really great sex. Like, I remember it vividly. It was very passionate. It was very lovely. But then after we finished, she left and like they basically like dumped me out, where I needed to go.
Perfect.
Yeah, right? You would think.
Sign me up.
That's ideal.
But so this happened to a farmer in Brazil, and he came down with the equivalent of the only explanation that I can call it is space AIDS. So he had this disease in his genitalia after this event happened to him, and he was like covered in sores and all this kind of things. He went to doctors. The doctors were like, we don't know what's wrong with you. We've never seen this. They did cultures. They did tests. It eventually cleared up. But would you ever have sex with an alien knowing that you could catch space AIDS?
Oh, 100%. It's my obligation as a representative of the human race. I have to do it.
Gene, are you having sex with Meek or Week, whatever her name is?
Yeah, I've never gone so quickly from a hell yes to a hard no, Raj. I was like, would you have sex with an alien? Yes. And get space AIDS? No. Like I'm drawing the line there. I have enough of an aversion to, I don't know if you guys know this about me. I have a paranoia about STDs. And King B, he's he likes to raw dog. And I'm like, no, I cannot even imagine. Be safe out there, kids. Don't have sex with aliens. Always wear protection.
No, of course. I'm saying I would use a dental damp. I would use a condom.
Well, you're going down on this space alien lady?
Listen.
Yeah, you gotta warm them up first.
No, listen. If you're going to go in for the experience, you're going to go get the top of the line. You're going to do it all. Well, I'm not going to go there and just make out. I want to have the full experience.
You're going to kiss?
Fuck yes.
I don't know. I feel like it's a transactional experience with the aliens. Like they just want one thing and one thing only.
And
that's our human sperm.
Yeah, so
they're not looking to make out. They're not looking to make it like a. Well, maybe they are. I don't know.
Or maybe they just want to put their hand on your crystal ball and spin it around until it changes colors and feeds you gumballs.
I felt like that was like how kids at the Michael Jackson Neverland Ranch. I feel like there was a room where there would be gumballs and
definitely
couches and movies projected onto the screen
and Jesus juice.
Ugh. Well, the young explorers headed off with their extraterrestrial host, but then the alien ship is suddenly intercepted by a larger, still alien vessel. A gigantic brown extraterrestrial arrives and gestures furiously while grinding out barely comprehensible alien language. As it turns out, Hawke and Neek are brother and sister, and they've taken their father's ship out for a joyride, sending the dreams to the boys in the hopes of meeting humans. Transmissions of old black and white movies have kept the extraterrestrial populace at a distance, except for the curious Hawke and Neek, due to the way that humans generally depict violence towards alien life.
So now, coming off of Ben's obvious disappointment in seeing the spaceship and then meeting these aliens, I'm feeling his pain. This is supposed to be this historic meeting with extraterrestrial life. He's going to learn the secrets of the universe. Instead, he's just utterly disappointed. He meets the intergalactic equivalent of like teenage slackers. They could have made the ending of this movie so much more epic. It's supposed to match the journey, but the journey turns into being a joke. Imagine if E.T., when Elliot meets him, he pulls his finger and he does a fart joke, right? You wouldn't love E.T. the same way. Why did they take a cop-out and just make it this joke ending when the kids pour so much of their heart into the Thunder Road?
Big D, I think there's two ways to look at it. It is a huge disappointment. The movie takes a fucking nosedive at this point. But on the flip side, if you watch this movie on drugs, this scene is amazing. There's all these colors. He's going between like all these characters. There's a projection of like old sci-fi movies going on. You got the Ed Sullivan Show. It is a visual and oral assault. And I highly recommend, if you get your hands on mushrooms, acid, even ecstasy, check this movie out. But as a sober adult watching it, aside from Wax like little fluttering ears, which are kind of adorable, this entire movie, after we discover these aliens, just becomes utterly pointless.
Did you also pick up on what Meek says to her father? She says like, oh, is he going to find out about us? And the father immediately turns to the kids. So obviously Neek has been out there luring other people into the car and just having sex with them, because the dad's clearly aware what she means.
I should point out at this point of the podcast that there is a fine actor that we have not saluted yet. It was involved. We talked about River Phoenix. We talked about Ethan Hawke. We did not talk about one Robert Picardo. This guy plays Whack, and he also plays Whack's father. But more impressively, he plays Starkiller. Yeah. So if you remember during the drive-in scene, there's the guy with the big golden wig who's the star of this movie. And it's based on these, I don't know if you guys have seen any of these really terrible Italian like Star Wars knockoffs. They're really great if you YouTube them. They're fucking hilarious, but the bad dubbing of the English and all that. But anyway, Starkiller inexplicably is on screen being bumped around by the incident happening at the drive-in. And at one point, parts of the set are falling over and he's like picking them back up. And it's fucking great. But Robert Picardo, he's had a pretty extensive TV career as well. He said that being Whack was like acting with a typewriter attached to your head. And then he said being Whack's father was like acting with an entire television strapped to the top of your head. The amount of weight, and the only part of him that's visible, if you'll notice in the movie, is just his lower jaw and mouth painted up to match. Every other inch of him was covered. He said it was the worst experience of being inside of costuming and makeup he's ever experienced.
But there's so many homages to Star Wars in this. What did you say it was, Roger? The Corvette 90 spaceship, or what was it?
It's the CR-90 Corvette.
Yeah, and then in the pedo spider, that little eye that comes out is like the door at Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. But yes. The biggest one is Starkiller. Starkiller was the original name for Luke Skywalker. It wasn't Skywalker. He was supposed to be Luke Starkiller. And then a few months before production, he decided, that doesn't quite work, and changed it. So definitely the writer's room in here was trying to latch on to the fandom that kids had and the affinity for Star Wars.
Oh, Big D, it goes way beyond that. So this movie is so loaded with Easter eggs. They point to Star Wars. They have This Island Earth appears in the movie. There's books referring to the Marvel Universe. Close Encounters is referenced. The flight scenes over the circuit board are referencing Peter Pan. The sound effects during the movie with Starkiller actually come from Atari game. Citizen Kane, the Rosebud sled, is in the junkyard. The Ed Sullivan Show is referenced, Looney Tunes, and even Gremlins, which the director Joe Dante directed as well. They put a lot of thought into this movie, and unfortunately, I think all of it's just overshadowed by such a weak ending.
I wish they just would have focused on the aliens, instead of putting Rosebud in the fucking junkyard. But, instead of having these wise stewards of technology from space, they get these slacker kids who enjoy watching television. And luckily, they're watching, it looks like 60s and 70s mostly television. They weren't watching a lot of stuff from the 80s. But it got me thinking, if aliens today came and they were watching television from 2020, it's definitely not this lighthearted. What do you think they would think of us?
I mean, it might be more accurate because they'd be watching like a lot of reality TV. So they'd just be like, oh, this is pretty fucking boring. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah, Neek would be trying to seduce Wolfgang like The Bachelorette does on television. She'd be like, I give you this rose or whatever. I don't know. There definitely wouldn't be a Maryland. I don't know. I don't watch reality television. I think it's trash. Maybe they'd be fighting like the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
She'd take him to the fantasy suite?
Is that what they do?
Yeah, it's one of the Bachelor things.
Is it? You watch The Bachelor?
No, I watch it in passing. I know enough to sound like I know. Like, I'll watch a commercial and I'll be to my wife, hey, what's up with that girl who showed up with a cow? And she'll be like, how do you know that? How do you know that? I'm just watching the commercials.
Did you just give your wife an accent?
Yeah, she has one.
Yeah, but the rule is you're not supposed to do that.
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
Is that the rule? I don't think so.
Yeah.
She doesn't listen to us. She said we swear too much.
I dated an Ecuadorian, and she used to always say, take me a picture. So I would say, Stephanie, take me a picture.
Wait, is that how she requested dick pics?
No. She'd just be like, take me out picture.
Yeah, she was 16 at the time. She lived with her parents.
She wasn't 16. She was 23, 24 when we started dating.
Well, an Ecuadorian, but that's 16.
That's right, yeah. Whack and Neek's father allowed the Thunder Road and its crew to depart after Whack and Neek give the boys a parting gift, an amulet which, according to the extraterrestrials, is the stuff dreams are made of. The boys make it safely back to Earth, but a malfunction results in them crashing the Thunder Road into their neighborhood lake. A week later, Ben has a dream at school in which he envisions another vast circuit board while flying through more clouds overhead. This time, thanks to Whack and Neek's amulet, Ben is joined in the dream by Wolfgang, Darren, and now Lori. They proclaim that the circuitry is really complicated and wonder will this one will take them once they've constructed it. Lori smiles at Ben while holding his hand. End movie.
Okay, so at the end, we get this less than graceful flying scene through the clouds. And I could not believe what I was seeing. They're holding hands, they're kissing. It's ridiculous. It's insulting. This entire movie has to be a dream sequence. That Ben is asleep, he's hearing the TV in the background, and that's how he's piecing this dream together. There's no way that they intentionally ended this movie with a group flight through the clouds.
Yes, where the movie falls apart. So what made this movie strong in the beginning was the accessibility, right? We saw ourselves in these kids, the walkie-talkies, the bike rides, the bullies, things that we could connect with. Even the idea of like building a spaceship out of a Tilt-A-Whirl car is something you could do. But, I think about movies that really hit home for me. And if someone asked me, what's a scary movie? I'd say The Ring. And The Ring was scary because everybody has a TV in their living room. So every time you passed by it, you're like, oh, fuck, is that TV going to do something? Or buddy comedies are funny because we all have a super weird friend. Or in Roger's case, we are the weird friend. But Explorers, it connected the best at times when we felt it accessible. Like we all built janky stuff as kid. We loved going on adventures. We had dreams. And then at this point in the movie, you got a fucking magical amulet and everybody's flying in a dream together and kissing. You can't relate to it. And it seems like exactly what you would expect from a movie that was rushed to the end. I think originally this was supposed to be 3 hours long. And so there was a lot more story to tell. And I think if they just were like, and then they're all in a dream together and there's a new circuit board at the end.
Yeah, I don't really understand what the message is here. Is it that we as humans are too dumb, dirty, and warmongering to understand the universe, and alien kids can just infiltrate our dreams whenever they want, like a dream roofie? Like, what the fuck is going on here?
I mean, they were trying to lure the pilot, and that was, we presume 60 years ago, so maybe Neek has been luring people for 60 years. But I think there was a much better ending here, and you hinted on it earlier, Roger, when you said, what's the point of the fucking parents, right? Darren's dad is this drunk. He's fighting with his girlfriend. His mother's died. He's this damaged kid. At the end, when they're flying over, Darren looks out and he says, oh, my dad's awake. I wonder what he's doing. I think this movie needed some kind of Goonies type end scene with the parents where they all come together. And at this point, we could have seen maybe Darren's father. He was awake in the house. He was concerned about where his son was, and that the thought of losing him had made him closer to his son. I think that they spent so much time on the families that at the end, there was no experience that changed them. I think having closure with the parents would have been a nice bookend in the movie instead of this drunken Peter Pan flight through the clouds.
Yeah, no, I don't really get this ending at all. You can tell it was rushed. It looked like, I don't know if you guys ever took like AV class like in high school, but there was like a green screen that you could do it on, and we made like an entire movie with it. That's how bad the effects are here.
Yeah, I really wish they would have had like a Stand By Me sort of ending where the Thunder Road sinks into the lake and they're like, and that's the last we ever spoke of Thunder Road. They just went about their lives.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, much better.
Or they bring in like another Springteens reference, like it's
Born to Run.
The streets of Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. You went to Philadelphia?
I thought that too. I just didn't say it.
Fucking space aids on the brain, dude.
Well, now it's time for the podcast where we break out our Shat meters and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast before, 0 wipes is a perfect movie. 5 wipes is a terrible movie. We'll give Big D, you're the first one to give your wipe score. How many wipes do you give Explorers?
So like I mentioned at the beginning, the 80s were the golden age of like kids space movies. You know, you had E.T., you had Flight of the Navigators, you had the Explorers, and it's just a strange movie. Gene had said the psychedelic nature of that scene where they're seeing all the television channels. I expect this is what a Terry Gilliam Space Kids movie would look like. It's a little trippy. It's a little off center. And I think instead of focusing on, like we've been harping on it, that intergalactic discovery, we're force-fed this lesson about cultural perception and mankind's fear of the unknown. I think it was a great setup, the build up into getting into space. And I think the ending was just too convoluted for even a 12-year-old Richard Ebert. So I think I got to give this 3 wipes. The first half is great. Second half, it's a dumpster fire.
How about you, Gene? Do you agree with Big D?
Yeah, Raj, I'm 100% on board with Big D. Explorer's design, the visual setup, the audio, the entire production design holds the same magic as it did when I was a kid. And Thunder Road, to me, is probably the coolest spacecraft in cinema. I love it. I was smiling through the entire first half of the movie, but things go horribly wrong as soon as the boys are aboard the spacecraft with Neek and Whack. And that scene where Whack is singing, rock and roll is here to stay. I'm like, how long is this going to go on? Why is this even happening? Is this really happening? Is this, they made this into a movie, and that resolution felt slapped together. And there was no real lesson other than, like Big D said, just like this heavy-handed rebuke of humans' bloodlust. And I wish, Raj, that the movie was what you remembered it being, which they failed to ever get into space.
Yeah.
And that was that. They had a little adventure. They were explorers, and we could have called it a day. That would have been a 2-wipe movie for me. This, unfortunately, is a 3-wiper.
Yeah, 2-wipe and 30 minutes shorter. I feel bad because James B is, in and out of work right now. He doesn't have a good hip. And he spent 150 pounds.
It's one good hip
for us to review this. So I hope his life isn't ruined because of this review. But like Ben, I wanted more. I wanted more from this. I felt what Ben was feeling when he was on that spaceship. And he's like, why is this alien pulling out his alien saxophone and playing a musical? It doesn't make any fucking sense to me right now. And you know what? Maybe we should never meet friendly aliens in movies. When you think of E.T. or Mac and Me, maybe movies what was the one where the woman had to understand what they were writing?
Contact.
Arrival.
Oh.
Yeah. No, Contact is Jodie Foster. And you know what? I used to shit on that movie because you wait to the end and she makes contact and the alien comes to her in the form of her father. And you were like, oh, it's such a cop-out, such a cop-out. I want to see an alien. But you know what? After watching this movie, I'm glad that it was her father.
Yeah, some of us felt like the whole time, Raj. The whole time.
Yeah, well, I'm just... go on message boards on the internet. People still hate that because they copped it out. Anyway.
No, Arrival was better than Contact, though.
Arrival's great. Arrival's fantastic. And they got the aliens right. Anyway.
Squids. Yeah,
they're weird looking creatures. Anyway, that being said, I wanted to like this movie more. I felt like the aliens, Whack and Neek, really destroyed this movie. I think if you let me recut this movie and make it the way that I want, which is they don't even make it into space, but the adventure, the exploration was them finding themselves. That's the best movie. Anyway, that being said, it's 4 wipes. I think it's worse than what you guys gave. But thanks for the commission and the support of the podcast. And I hope your hip feels better. That being said, Gene, if we were to add up our scores, 2 3s and a 4, divide by 3, that gives you our overall wipe score, which is...
Raj, the average wipe score for Explorers is 3.3 wipes repeating.
And if we were to compare that ranking across the pantheon of Shat rankings that we've done here at Shat the Movies, where does that rank Explorers, Big D?
So that now ties it in the 103rd spot with Lost Boys, Caddyshack, Videodrome, and Bad Boys.
Yeah, that feels right.
Lost Boys is so much better than this.
Is it, though?
Yeah.
It's not that. No.
You got the Frog Brothers. You got Kiefer Sutherland.
They're worms.
Yeah, you got their worms.
They're worms.
Oh, man, so good. Anyway.
Shit happens.
Shat happens.
Yeah, shit happens.
Yeah, well, now it's time of the podcast where we give our shout outs and tell you what movie we're doing next week. Gene, what's a shout out?
Raj, a shout out is when listeners go and explore shatthemovies.com, checking out everything we have to offer there, including the backlog of movies we've done in the past. They can vote for future movies. They can support the podcast, and they can go to shatthemovies.com/shoutout and put their name on the form, hearing their name later on the podcast. This week's shout outs go out to 1997 Fort Leonard Wood graduate. I think that's for you, Big D. Dave from Allenstown, New Hampshire. That's like the most normal one we've had in a long time. Thanks, Dave. Also, Kate Chase, and Raj is right, but it's spelled Roge, which I guess is still short for Roger.
Yeah.
So
Roj
is right. Roj is right. Anyway, that's all we got for shoutouts this week. So that means we are zeroed out on shoutouts. If you want to get your name in next week's shoutouts, just go to shatthemovies.com/shoutout and put your name in there. I guarantee you'll get in, unless it's racist, sexist, homophobic, or calls out anyone's religion in a negative light.
Or if it's from fucking UCF fan, fuck him.
Yeah, fuck you. No, not UCF, UFC.
Oh.
He's another guy that likes Brazilian man-on-man combat.
Some BJJ.
Love some BJJs.
You guys are just jealous of my sexy rash guard.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Big D, what movie are we doing next?
Oh, so next week we delve into the genre of the buddy cop movie. Following the death of his wife, Los Angeles police detective Martin Riggs becomes reckless and suicidal. When he is reassigned and partnered with Roger Murtaugh, Riggs immediately clashes with the older officer. Together, they uncover a massive drug trafficking ring. As they encounter increasingly dangerous situations, Riggs and Murtaugh begins to form a bond. Riggs' volatile behavior might just help them apprehend the criminals if it doesn't kill them both first. And this was commissioned by Brian F. It was released in March of 1987 and was directed by Richard Donner. Should be a good one.
It is the new, this should be a Christmas movie. Everyone says, this also takes place during Christmas time. This should be a Christmas movie.
It's so good.
So that concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just follow the handle Shat the Movies. You can also find us on Facebook. Our website, once again, where you can find past episodes, support the podcast, is shatthemovies.com. Our email, where you can connect with us, is hosts@shatthemovies.com. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can subscribe, and if you stop by iTunes, unlike UFC Fan 78, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, True Detective, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Coming back, season 3, Westworld. Start your review now. You can find all of our past episodes and information on our website, shatontv.com. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Gene Whack Lyons, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for the following movie review. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, good night, and good luck.
He's a criminal's worst nightmare. A cop who enjoys the danger.
No guns, no jiu-jitsu, just bring him down.
Do you really want to jump? Well, then that's fine with me. Come on.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait a minute. What the...
He was ready to retire. Now, he's going to wish he had.
Gun! Oh!
Raj, meet your new partner.
New partner?
Too old for this. If these guys can just stand each other.
What you got in there? 4-inch Smith? A lot of old-timers carry those.
The bad guys don't stand a chance.
Don't kill anybody. Don't kill anybody. I'm too old for this.
Are you as good as you say you are?
Nobody can touch me.
Suppose we better register you as a lethal weapon. You ever met anybody you didn't kill?
Well, I haven't killed you yet.